jumping back into the action here and talking about something that we didn't get to last week, I came to realize was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a very significant offseason is in store for them this year, already starting with their participation at the Shrine Bowl. They're very big on the Senior Bowl as well coming up and things like that. They're very much already starting to get in the gear of scouting and off-season and things like that. They're already starting that whole process. And Pittsburgh came into this postseason as well with questions at the quarterback position, and they were hoping to get a bit more clarity on that this season. But I'd say we still have as many questions as we did at the start, if not more now, that Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are free agents now. And it feels like we're inching closer to the end of their one-year deals in March, right? They are still under contract until free agency starts, obviously. And based on the comments today from their owner, Art Rooney, and just my overall sense on this, it feels like the state of the Steelers at the quarterback position is very much going to be either Russ or Justin Fields, not Russ and Justin Fields, one or the other, based on, I'm going to see if I can find it here on X. It feels like it's going to be one or the other there at the quarterback position, according to what Art Rooney said today. He talked on a bunch of different things, and it feels like it's going to be one or the other. And what Art Rooney actually said on the quarterbacks and things like that in regards to Justin Fields and things like that, he said that he sees that Justin Fields wants to get better, and he's intrigued by the opportunity to keep working with Justin Fields, and also the idea of keeping both of them is something that he said was a priority, to keep working with one of the two, going forward. But it feels like there was an underlying tone there a little bit. And this is coming after last week where on the Pat McAfee show, Russell Wilson was on there, and they were talking about his future and the contract talks really at this point and how early it still is. But Russell said on the Pat McAfee show on his contract that, yes, we have been starting to talk a little bit, but we've had our meetings and everything else just getting into it. So I think that it's an exciting time to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and the opportunity of what we can do. So the real significant part of that was that they have started to talk a little bit in terms of what a contract could potentially be and things like that. But you get that, and then this week you get Art Rooney sort of hinting to the fact that it's only going to be one of them. And he talked pretty highly of Justin Fields as well. And in one quote that he had today on the development of Justin Fields was that he said, obviously, we had a winning record. He handled the situation, I think, as a young quarterback who wants to come in and learn and grow. And I think he did grow. And I think he does have that mindset that he wants to get better. So I think that, that makes you feel like you want to potentially work with him again in the future. So advertising Justin Fields and advertising Russell Wilson, at least from Russ's point of view, has been going in a pretty positive direction right now for the Steelers. And also you had before Mike Tomlin mentioning how he saw Justin Fields perform like a starting quarterback at this point, during this last season. He said that he felt that Justin showed that he could be a starter in this league, and he did get the first crack at starting, at the end of the day, and he went 4-2 before Pittsburgh went to Russell Wilson. So there was a ton of excitement around Justin, and there really wasn't like a huge cry for the Steelers to bench Justin at that point in time. Yes, it was a little bit rough, and yes, you did have your questions with the mishandling of snaps, and the Raiders game wasn't particularly great either, but they did win. So, there was some bumps and bruises in, again, the first year of this experience. But even still, it wasn't like a lot of people were screaming to get Justin Fields out of there. Again, it was just a hunch decision by Mike Tomlin that did end up turning out pretty well at the start because Russ won his first 6 of 7 games. But then after that, not just on Russell Wilson, but the entire team. They went on that 5-game losing streak, and now because Russ is the quarterback, right, obviously, a lot of the attention goes to him, on the offensive side of the ball and the falling off the cliff that they had. There are some questions with Russ, and, you always bring up the lack of mobility and the Steelers' offense being so predictable and things like that. A lot of that, unfortunately, falls to Russ. So, I guess the factors to consider here with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields is, first, and financially, how much are the Steelers willing to give Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields as well, or one or the other, right? You also have to consider that Justin Fields has probably more of an outside interest in his services rather than Russell Wilson. So that's something else you have to consider, right? If you're the Steelers and you offer him this amount of money, and this other team offers him a lot more money and probably guarantees him to be their starter, how does that impact, your game plan going forward if Art Rooney, with what he said, and we're assuming, obviously, right, with his comments, that he wants to keep Justin Fields potentially over Russell Wilson, but they're not able to do that, right? They gotta file through the outside factors as well, especially with Justin Fields having a much improved year from what we saw from him in Chicago. So that's something that they have to consider. You also have to consider the fact that Russ might be taking less money if he's open to doing that, and if he does come back on a very team-friendly deal, maybe say with Justin Fields as well, then is he open to the possibility that this could be an actual quarterback competition, not just the fact that he's named the starter, regardless of anything, right? Is this actually going to be a quarterback competition, and is that something that Russell Wilson would be open to, right? Or is he going to be, ill-willed about the idea that he was a starter and now going into next year he's going to have to compete for his spot? That could be something that might not line up as well, so you got to keep an eye on that. And there was also those reports that Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith really weren't too much on the same page, and that actually Arthur Smith preferred Justin Fields as the quarterback, and I don't think that's entirely so black and white like that, but it just, it is something else to consider potentially, right? If, enough people say it, how long before you start thinking that's true? And it felt like there was some level of truth to that, but again, we're not going to just speculate that it is the absolute truth, but it is something to kind of consider when you're making this decision. And honestly, if they can work out the financials and things like that, I could definitely see the Steelers bringing both of them back potentially. If the financial side is very much in their favor, I think if Russ takes a pretty cheap and friendly deal, almost to like the level they did this year, the Steelers would have no problem in bringing both of them back. But the way that, again, Art Rooney was talking today in his, I guess, end of the year statements to the media, he mentioned how he would like both of his quarterbacks or his quarterback room next year to have a lot of the same characteristics, right? Pocket presence. They have to be able to be mobile and run the ball and things like that, have a strong arm and other things like that describe quarterbacks. That was something that he said he would like to see from his quarterback room next year. So whether he considers Russ in that sort of, category, or if he considers, some draft prospect to fit that as much as maybe Justin Fields as well. There's a lot of things to consider here with the Steelers and the quarterback position. And, in that sense, what sort of quarterback are you looking for in the draft also, right? You can say you want someone like that, but does that mean like a Quinn Ewers, or do you try and go for Jalen Milroe potentially? He has a lot of characteristics similar to Justin Fields, so is that something that you would even explore, or like a Jackson Dart from Ole Miss? I think that would probably be their best option, in my opinion, right? Maybe he's there till the third round, and you can, pick him at that point. But I think using a second round pick, definitely not a first round pick on a quarterback, is still a little bit early, especially for a draft class that's definitely not as high on the quarterbacks as it was yesterday. So you don't want another no offense, another Kenny Pickett situation where you just draft one for the sake of drafting one and it doesn't work out. So it feels like the Steelers and their owner Art Rooney are very adamant that a lot of things need fixing, need improvement, right? Obviously, but the biggest thing that he mentioned, and I think I agree with him wholeheartedly, is that the quarterback situation needs to take a step forward, certainly this year, right? They can't just be coasting in this weird middle ground where, yes, maybe a couple games it looks like they have their guy, then it just plummets the next 4 games, and then they go to the other guy, and it's the same thing. You can't keep having these waves of up and down because, for the most part, usually when they hit their worst form, that downslide is around the playoffs, and they go home in the first round. So I'd like to, if you ask me personally, I would like to see Justin Fields get the opportunity because you still don't really know what you have there with him because you decided to go to Russ. And I think what you saw from Russ is as good as advertised as what you're going to get for him going forward. Whereas with Justin, I still think there's some things there that you could potentially unlock and just tighten up a little bit more. Because he's still so young, I think he's still only like 25 or 26, you can still work with him to that extent and get him to still incline, still progress at this point in his career. It's not like he's all set and done like potentially Russ is. So I'd like to see him go with Justin. I feel like he has really not done anything to lose that opportunity. So that's what I would like to see them do. And then explore your options at a quarterback, potentially in the 3rd round, because I'm also not a fan of the free agent options out there, but that's just me. But we'll see. I mean, the Steelers are very much in the thick of things right now. They're not just looking at quarterback, obviously. They're doing their due diligence at a bunch of different spots. So we'll see where it goes from here with the Steelers. But in terms of the show, one more segment to get to. Just a quick update on a bunch of hires in the coaching realm in the NFL, from Robert Saleh, Joe Brady, Kellen Moore, all these guys, and where they could potentially be playing, or not playing, coaching next season in 2025.